Hi there and welcome back to PierPoint Custom Rod Building and Repair. This is part 2 of the video, where in the previous one I showed you how to remove the damaged tip section from the Zziplex M4GT. And if you remember, it had a damaged ring there and the insert had come out, and it was a particular tip because it had the guide foot at the base there, so we needed to source an exact copy of that. So we worked out that it was a 12mm diameter with a 3.6 tube bore, and it was a Fuji MN80. Okay, so we've ordered the new component and it's arrived, so now we need to think about how we're going to put that on. So there we go, there's the two together. Okay, exactly the same, no different. And I'll get my components, as you all know, from Guides and Blanks. Okay, delivery was pretty good. So we're just going to offer that up, make sure that it fits, which it does. Okay, a couple of things before we start. Don't forget your safety glove, because you might be doing a bit of cutting. Bit of 800 grade wet and dry, your heat source. Don't forget your safety equipment, the extinguisher, fire bucket. Going to use a bit of ISO alcohol, and you need a cloth as well, burnishing tool, and then I've got some orange thread on a reel just ready to go. Okay, so what you need to do then is take your 800 grade wet and dry and just rub that tip section down. There's a few lumps and bumps in there. You don't want to be overdoing it, because this is probably the most sensitive part of the rod. You don't want to go too far into the blank, but it's just enough just to take off that little bit of excess high build and also the hot melt glue that's already on there. Okay, so a little bit of rubbing just to get rid of that. Okay, it's not much, but it also acts as a key for when it comes to adhering to the tip section. Okay, so just take that down. Okay, that's all you need to do. Then take your ISO alcohol. Okay, just put a little bit on the cloth, and then just wipe that tip section just to get rid of the dust. And this flashes off pretty quickly. Okay, and that makes that nice and clean. You can see just a little bit of dirt on there as well. Okay, so that's fine. That's all you need to do for that. So that's nicely prepared, ready to go. So we take our guide foot, and now with the hot melt glue, this is how I do it, is just cut those into shards, and then you push those into the tube bore. Okay, you'll get 2 or 3 in there. We've got some of different thicknesses. That's all you need to do, is just to push a few shards in there. Bit fiddly with that guide foot in the way. And we'll go. You can also put some hot melt glue onto the actual tip section itself, and then if you get a cocktail stick and you break it in half, and then just use that as a bit of a ramming rod, and just push those into the tube bore. There we go. Here we go. Okay. And just get as much in there as you possibly can. Push it in there. Hopefully you can just about see that. Okay, it'll take a few. And you've got the added advantage with these, that when you come to bind it on the tip section, you're also going to put the thread around that guide foot. I've pre-prepared this as well, so I've just used my file just to take that edge off and just make it into a bit of a finer point, so that the thread runs up it just a little bit smoothly. Okay, so we've got our hot melt shards in now. Don't forget your safety glove, so you put that on and get this ready. I've shown you how to do this in previous videos. So you just heat that up, okay, just enough. You put too much heat on and you're likely to damage the tip insert, so just wave the flame across it and eventually the glue will melt inside. Okay, you can see that just going. You don't have to apply a direct flame for ages. Okay, just a little bit more, there we go. And that's melted quite nicely. Okay, and then all we do then is we slide that onto the tip section. Okay, you can just see it squirting out of the end there through that little air hole, and then just hold that into position. Now I'm lining this up with the guides that are already on the rod. Okay, it's all done by eye. Okay, just hold that into position until the hot melt goes off, and it's as easy as that. And even if it was in the wrong position by a millimetre or two, then you just reheat it and just readjust it. Okay, but you can get it into the exact position that you want. Okay, and once that's done, just check. If you do leave it, it will move, so you just need to hold it on there until it has actually set, otherwise it will try and twist around. It may take about 30 or 40 seconds just to go off. Okay, I think that's on there nice and secure. And then you'll see just in the end there, just show you where that air hole is, you just get a little bit of that hot melt glue that's just coming out of there. So what you just need to do, you can use your cocktail stick. You're best doing it while it's still warm. You just use your stick just to remove that excess, and then you can see that it's just on the end of the cocktail stick there. Okay, if you leave it in there, it just looks a bit horrible. Okay, just take it out. That's fine. So that's going off quite nicely. So what I'm going to do is just check that with my eye, just to make sure that it is in the right position. Any more final adjustments before I start to think about putting my orange thread on, and then I'll show you how to do that. Okay, but that's going off quite nicely. Okay, going to show you how to bind the thread on to the tip now, and that's binding this guide foot onto that tip section. So there's the orange thread. So you want to go over once, bring it back on itself, okay, and just keep twisting that around the tip section. I'm just going to put it there just to get it out of the way. Okay, bit of masking tape just to hold that in. Now this is the crucial bit here, is because you've got to cross over this thread. Okay, so there's your first turn, and there's your second turn there. So make sure that that gets crossed over at that point, and that's what's going to bind this thread in and stop it from coming undone. Okay, use your thumbnail just to pack those threads tightly together, and you want to do this round about 6 turns. And that will just make sure that it's held nice and firmly in place. Okay, you can do 8 or 10, it doesn't really matter, there's no magic number, it's just enough to hold that thread on that tip section. Okay, so once you've done that about 6 times, we just need to get rid of this little tag end. Okay, out of the way. Okay, so you can see that's held nicely in place now. Okay, so it's not moving. Pull that tight. Okay, and that's what the sharp blade's there for. So you just need to trim this tag end off now, so just cut that. Be careful you don't cut the main line. Okay, that's all you need to do, just snip that off. As you say, that's held nicely in position, and then all you do then is just rotate the thread around the tip section. Got a little bit of a way to go. Okay, it's not a race, and as you move the tip round, just try and keep those threads tightly packed together if you can. Just use your thumbnail to push that across. Okay, you don't want any gaps. Now of course, if you've got a thumbnail, you can use your burnishing tool just to pack those threads in and down. Okay, so you've got a bit of work to do. Okay, we'll just try and speed that up a little bit. Once you get confident, then it's a lot easier to do. So you're doing it by hand. It's all hand and eye coordination. Okay, just keep an eye on those threads, just keep them packed. And it's important to have tension on this thread as well, okay, as it comes in, because you want it nice and tight on there so it doesn't come undone. Okay, just keep that turning. Okay, we're getting a reasonable finish, and then you can use your burnishing tool, just a couple of gaps in there, and because the blank is black, sometimes you can see it just coming through, so just burnish that out by flattening the threads down. And you can do that as you go, or you can do it at the end. The best thing is that if you keep this tightly packed as you go, okay, it saves any gaps appearing at the end. Okay, so keep twisting that. Now, I said earlier that I've filed down my guide foot there to a sharper point, so that when I come to it, my thread will just go up there just a little bit easier. Okay, so just keep turning that. So we're getting reasonable coverage there. Okay, and just make sure that is nice and tight. Now, especially as we're getting closer to that guide foot. Okay, it's not a race. Now you can see it's just starting to go up there now. Okay, you might just have to help it a little bit, especially on the second turn. It'll always want to wrap over itself, and what you don't want is you don't want any crossed threads at this point, because they will show through and they look awful. Okay, so just be careful. It's a lot of our eye to hand coordination at this point, so it's coming up the guide foot nicely. Keep those threads tightly packed in. Always check and double check. So there we go. Okay. So if it crosses over, then you just bring it back and go again. You do find that these threads can be quite flexible as well, so you will get a bit of movement in them. Okay. Especially this bougie thread, because it can be quite soft. But you get the idea. Okay, it's a pretty good eyesight. Just keep that rotating as you go. Get in there. Now when you get a certain distance away, and I like to probably go about 5 or 6 mil from the end, and of course you need to put your pull through in, because you need to finish off that piece of thread to make sure it's secure. So around about now I'm going to put my pull through in. So there's my pull through, bit of thread with a swivel. Okay, so that goes in, and make sure you put it on the back of the rod and back of the guide. It just makes it nice and tidy, so when you do your pull through the thread, if there's any little bobbles, they're hidden out of the way. Okay, so just going to hold that in position with my masking tape. Okay, so now that's in there, and then when you come to the end, you're going to put your thread through this loop and then just pull it through. Okay, so keep going to the end, a bit more to go. Not too much. Again, just keep those threads packed if you can. Any gaps forming, just give it a burnish. It's a bit fiddly because I'm trying to work around the camera as well. Okay, so you can see, hopefully you're getting a good view of that. Almost there, a few millimetres to go. Okay, once you are in the right position, of course, you can spin that quite quickly. And you just want to get as close to the end as you possibly can. You're probably not going to get all the way up there. Okay, get as close as you possibly can. It's just about a millimetre to go. Okay. Various tools you can use to do this. The thumbnail's probably the best. Okay, we get in there. Couple more winds to go. Okay, I think we're just about there. Okay. Just get as close as you can. So when you get to this point, you need to find your loop in the end of your thread here. Okay. See if you can find that, just give myself a bit of room. Okay. Prepare my swivel, ready to do the pull through bit. So it all needs to be laid out, ready to go. Okay. So you've got that bit. So there's your loop with your thread. Okay, and then you're just going to support that there so it doesn't come undone, because you'll need to cut the main line. Okay, so make sure it doesn't unravel when you do this bit. Okay. So there we go. So there's your tag end. Hopefully you can just about see that. Okay, so there's the tag end, and you need to make sure that it goes through this loop. You put it through the loop. Okay, it's all a bit fiddly and a bit tricky, and then you pull your pull through, and then you can just see that it's just going to bind my tag end into position. Oops. Okay, can you see that? It's just pulling that in to the end of my wrap. Okay, hopefully you can just see that, and it's just cinching it in there. Okay, see that, and it's holding it in position there. I'll just show you on the camera. Okay, so it's just in there, just holding it. Okay, now you need to cut that, so you can use your thread clippers, or you can use your sharp blade or scissors, it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to clip that off, get rid of that. Okay, and then I need to do my final pull through. So just to show you, there's my swivel, there's my thread. Okay, and you can just see my little tag end just sticking up in there. Okay, I'm just going to put my thumb over it just to support it, and then I'm just going to pull that through. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, and then as you pulled that through, you may not be able to see on the camera, but it's just taken it down a 45-degree angle, and it's in there by between 1 and 2 millimeters, so it's nice and secure. So all we then need to do is any gaps just on that orange thread, you just use your burnishing tool just to go over it. Okay, and there we go, and that's how you put a nice bit of a trim band beneath the tip section, or if you've got a guide foot like you have on this tip, then obviously put your guide foot on. And when you come to put the high build on here, you'll be coating that, and some of it will run into the tip section here underneath the guide, and that will give it a bit more adhesion to the tip. Okay, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll give you some more hints, tips, tools and techniques to help you on your rod building journey. Thanks for watching.